Probably my
I know,
That's
right?
probably my favorite of all
You
time.
gotta listen to this one over and over and over.
Yeah, this
And
was so edifying and enlightening and illuminating and good and positive.
So worth
Well,
the
no,
wait,
such a
right? So worth
hard
the wait
topic.
to get Dr. Bill Bumberry here.
It's weird for me to be with professional media. You guys are really good at projecting well. And I have work to do on that, but it's a great topic and you guys do a great job of hosting. So
Did a beautiful job. But Rex, worth the wait, right? We've been waiting for Dr. Bill Bumberry for a while.
Yeah. Well, you recommended him, and I
Worth the wait.
found him and then kept trying. So I'm glad.
Thank you for that.
You came on, Bill. This has been an incredible podcast. I think we could have you on another 10 times. And great.
well, it's fun. It's a fun experience for me because it's so novel. I really don't have any kind of comfort with it all, and so it's easy. I mean, you guys do make it easy, so that's a good thing.
Well, you were very comfortable, and
yes,
I love the way you talk.
You never know
the answers you provided. I have some questions too. That might be a little redundant, but I would like to ask.
Please. Please.
Why? I mean, is there like bullet points to why partners might be betraying or cheating, or is there like certain things that just cause people to do it?
Well, if you ask the Gottmans, they would argue, as in a global sense, people cheat. What are people cheating for? There's some old data that says they're not looking for sex, really, although that's not always true. They're looking for something to quell their loneliness. They're looking for connection. And I mean, the study they talk about, though, is so old that, the culture's changed 35 years since then. But I mean, there's a lot of that just existential angst and loneliness out there in the world. And
yeah, I think the human condition is been the same for thousands of years. So even though the technology changes, the feelings are still there.
Yes.
Yeah,
so there are people who just do it because they can. I remember years ago, I think a guy named Frank Pittman was on Oprah. Was it Oprah? Right. And he was there with like a whole bleacher full of guys who had affairs. And he was saying men have affairs because they fear women or fear being controlled by women. And they all kind of blew up and went crazy over that. Like, no woman, I'm not afraid of no woman. Yeah. But this is before the kind of the culture at least changed on the surface about gender. There's still a lot of work to do.
I mean, I think you're right, though. I think it more than likely it probably is loneliness. Like you said, it's not sex or something like that. It's just to find a connection. And for some reason, they don't feel vulnerable enough to do it with their partner.
Yeah, I mean, I used to have a cartoon in my office from the New Yorker, and it had this woman confronting her husband about why he's having an affair, and he's standing there with his girlfriend, the cartoon picture, and they were identical. The girlfriend and the wife were identical. It's not that you found somebody younger, more attractive, or more beautiful. You just found somebody who makes you feel seen in the moment. And
yeah, does infidelity usually start with friends? Or, I mean, I know the advent of social media has made it easier to connect with old flames or old things like that. Do more people cheat with old flames or with new people? Is there any statistic on that?
I don't know the stats, but I know in my practice, the old boyfriend, old girlfriend stuff is particularly pernicious and dangerous because people convince themselves, I'm just going back and down memory lane, and that's a long time ago and way back then, and it doesn't matter. And all of a sudden they're smitten again. And it has a deeper level of danger to it, I think.
I think that's on point. Is there a community or an identifiable group that are less likely to cheat? Or are there like identifiable traits in those groups that prevent them? Like, I don't know, the Amish or something.
So again, this is another thing I don't know data about, but my brain would say first I was going to say people who find purpose and meaning and connection in life Carol Rusbalt is the wisdom here, the Dutch researcher who did this commitment research. And again, she found that people who had relationships that met their needs and they actually intertwined their lives together, she was the only person who could predict affairs. There were thousands of studies about affairs, but they were all after the fact. She could predict it by looking how satisfied people felt in their relationship, how intertwined their lives were. And she also added the thing, how available substitute partners would be. Those all had strong predictive value to people who actually crossed the line to have an affair.
Wow. That just sounds genius, like just those different factors to calculate in there. Are there groups or professions that are more likely to cheat?
These are all great, like, demographic questions of which I know no answers to any of them. What pops in my mind is I was thinking of pro athletes, but then I thought of a case I saw where they came in because he was the pro athlete here in town and she's the one who had the affair. And what he was pissed about is that he's supposed to be the one who's doing that, not her.
Yeah. I would think it'd be more challenging because I'm sure as a pro athlete, there's people throwing themselves at it.
Yeah.
And wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. But then I could think.
Did they make it? Did they make it, Bill? Or do you know?
They did. A very complicated story, but they actually turned out really good, although not straight line.
Yeah. Never.
It often never is.
Yeah.
Good for them. Good for them. I'm so happy to hear that.
Before it gets there. You mentioned briefly too, like, how do people respond? Like, do betrayers sometimes like get very defensive or?
Yeah. I mean, again, no, I don't know the frequency, but the process is, hey, I'm worried about something, or I saw a text, or I looked at your phone, and they deny it, right? And to the extent that they deny it and are earnest and act earnest about it and are good liars and come up with a quick, fluid response to it, they're like doubling down on it. I'm willing not only to deny what I did, but I'm willing to throw you under the bus and say you're paranoid or you're suspicious or you're always making things up, which makes it that much deeper when you try to dig out of it. Because now, under duress, they're willing to sacrifice your sanity for their story.
Yeah, gaslighting.
And yeah, it is gaslighting. It happens all the time. And then the stupidity to give a partial, once you're caught and begin to reveal things, it's just such a good idea to just say the whole thing so there's no more secrets out there that can come up and bite you. But as soon as I say that, some people would say, I don't want to hear everything, though. I've heard enough. And so you have to, as a therapist, you have to honor that. You can't say you have to listen to everything. I mean,
I'm curious, Bill, a follow up with that, Rex, is, again, I don't know the research, and you may not either, but I'm curious about those who, the infidelity happens and then they leave the relationship. How often do those, that they're now with their new partner, work out? Is there a higher divorce rate amongst those that, I cheated with this person, now we're in a relationship?
For sure. I mean, there's generally a higher divorce rate for second marriages than first marriages, and third marriages for second marriages. On the other hand, I've seen people who got divorced and came back and married their same partner, one couple twice. So they had three wives or husbands. They all just happen to be the same ones. Right.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, but I have heard that if those two people get together based on infidelity, that there is a higher breakup rate because
trust.
Yes. I know what you're capable of, right? I was on the other side.
Right. And so that idea has been there forever, that if it's a trust thing and that all of a sudden you're not boyfriend, girlfriend, now you're, spouse, husband, wife. And guess what? You could say it to each other. You both cheated on your husband or wife, right?
Yeah. And they both were complicit in keeping the secret. And,
right.
And kind of feeding off the thrill of it. And then it's gone. And like you said, now, okay, wait, I cheated to be with you. Hey, you cheated to be with me. Yeah. Oh my God.
But the unspoken thing, there are some couples who end up divorced, not necessarily for an affair, who end up actually having better relationships with each other than they ever would have had staying together. They raise their kids better. They are friendly at soccer games. They have birthday parties and don't go viral. They actually like each other sometimes if they aren't being made miserable by their relationship.
Mm-hmm. That's the ideal divorce. I don't see very many of those, but
no. There was a book years ago called The Good Divorce, and it said that's not a bell-shaped curve. There's a small number of people who do that, but it's not very big, right?
That's interesting. The last question I want to bring up, I don't know, this could almost be a whole other topic of itself, is when the children discover the betrayal. Like, do they come into the therapy too, or like what? Gosh,
when they're the ones
tangled knot.
It is when they're the ones who made the discovery, or they heard about it after they hear their parents fighting about it. I mean, both of those, either one.
Gosh.
So when I got out of grad school, I did family therapy for a decade because that's what the field was then. Family therapy was new. And so I only saw families then. And then we would do stuff like that. And then I got worn out of seeing families and school systems and legal systems. And so I decided to take it easy and do couples, which turns out to be more difficult in many ways.
It's funny.
But the point, I mean, I think you need to protect kids as much as you can, but they need to not, they need to know what they're capable of processing. But you can't say all 8-year-olds are the same. I mean, it's really hard to know what a kid is ready to process and what they'll make of it. You would have experience with that, I guess, Liz, right? I mean,
it's tough on everyone, and I think providing a place of safety where their voice can be heard and honored is really a good start. But trauma really deserves that tender touch approach.
Yeah.
Bill,
and it doesn't go away.
People don't really realize how
Yeah.
sensitive kids can be to the situation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Wow. Well, we sure
Rex.
appreciate you. We want to honor your time.
Yeah.
Thanks again for
nice chatting with you guys. Glad this happened. I'm glad I finally
Such a
called
joy.
again.
Such a joy.
I might bug you again to come back on. Will, this was Bill.
That'd be great.
Thanks for joining us today. Hey, do us a favor and take a second to subscribe to our podcast and the Utah Marriage Commission YouTube channel at Utah Marriage Commission, where you can watch this and every episode of the show. Be sure to smash the like button, leave a comment, and share this episode with a friend. You can also follow and interact with us on Instagram at Stronger Marriage Life and Facebook at Stronger Marriage. So be sure to share with us which topics you loved or which guests we should have on the show next. If you want even more resources to improve your marriage or relationship connection, visit strongermarriage.org, where you'll find free workshops, e-courses, in-depth webinars, relationship surveys, and more. Each episode of Stronger Marriage Connection is hosted and sponsored by the Utah Marriage Commission at Utah State University. And finally, a big thanks to our producer, Rex Polanis, and the team at Utah State University, and you, our audience. You make this show possible. The opinions, findings, conclusions, and recommendations expressed in this podcast do not necessarily reflect the views of the Utah Marriage Commission.